Here he is.
All right, big man.
What's happening, mate? You're late. You're 1 minute late.
Mate, I've been sitting here waiting patiently for you.
I've been half asleep, man. That's why.
You have been.
I've just been chilling out, man.
Yeah.
Just been chilling out. What about you?
Just the same, mate.
Yeah.
Weather's been class as well, eh?
Exactly. It's been decent. You've been flipping locked inside. So
how are you finding this whole situation being a footballer? Because, I mean, this must be the longest break you guys are ever going to have, eh?
Yeah, it's so hard, mate, honestly. Not just from, obviously, we're just used to being outside, used to training and all those sorts of things. And just being stuck in and with 8 games to go, it's an absolute nightmare. And like you say, it's the longest break we're gonna ever have in our careers until we retire.
What do you think's the ideal outcome?
I don't think there is one.
No.
Personally, I don't think there is one that's going to suit every club. I think the one that's been put forward at the moment with ending it and where you are, it is where you are. I think that's the only way to go. You can't avoid the season. We're too far into it. So that can't happen, and we can't go back and play. No. And also,
I don't know when it's going to be that we actually can play it. So
exactly. And I was actually doing some reading on why I think they're trying to end it as soon as possible, is because we obviously got the new TV deal coming in August, which is worth so much more money to especially the Scottish game. It's worth so much more money to us up here, so it can't go past the 1st of August. And you see in June the 10th banded around as like a date, and then we're having a 6-week pre-season. It's not going to work. The dates aren't going to add up.
No, the thing is, you couldn't even just go straight back into it. Like, you guys are going to need to have a bit of pre-season before you played any games, or.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some fans are out there on Twitter and stuff, saying, "Well, why can't they just play again straight away?" And it's not possible. I wish we could. I wish I could go back and be up to speed. But genuinely, the amount of injuries that would happen, not just here but up and down the country would be absolute madness, because we can't go back and play at that tempo. We actually can't.
And the product would be miles off it for the fans as well.
Yeah, exactly. No one's going to be a winner out of that situation, us going back. It'd be like a testimonial. It really would. Do you know what I mean? And boys will be not lasting 90 minutes. And we're doing runs. I'm doing road runs and all that sort of thing and trying to keep as fit as I can. But it's totally different to training and playing.
Different to a game fitness, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So different. And obviously you play football, so but for people who haven't and just think you can, just do it, turn it on like that, it's impossible.
I played Sunday League, mate.
Yeah, I know, but still, if you miss like 3 Sundays in a row and then you try and go back, you're blowing, you're thinking, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? So It's the same for us all, man.
Right, so go have a wee chat about your career, and then I've got a few questions that people have sent in and a couple that I've put in on myself as well.
Yeah, of course.
So we'll go right back to the start. You started at the hometown club Reading.
Yeah.
Released as a teenager before signing for Hayes Football Education Development Opportunity, where you graduated at 18 years old.
Yeah. So I was at Reading from, I think, 11 till maybe 14. And I ended up getting released from there, which I was actually quite happy about, because I just wasn't enjoying football. I'd played Sunday League the year before, so from 10 to 11 I played Sunday League. Went in to play for Reading Schoolboys, which is all the best school kids basically. Then I got signed up to the academy also. I just wasn't enjoying it. I was playing out of position for what I thought was my position. I was playing at centre half, and it just wasn't fun. I missed playing with my mates. The first couple of years were okay because I was able to play Sunday League as well as playing in the academy. Then they kind of scrapped that and it was just academy football only. And I missed it. I missed playing with my friends. I missed the enjoyment of football. I used to say to my mum, like, I don't enjoy going to training. I don't enjoy playing in matches. So when it came at 14 for me to get released, I was actually quite relieved, because it meant I can go back and play with my friends again.
Yeah, you feel it was just like too serious for your age?
Yeah, I do. And that's why I find it, when boys are playing in academies now and they're training 4 days a week, I think it's too much. I really do think it was far too structured for me at that age. And I just, as every young boy and girl that plays football wants to do, you just want to play with your friends. You want to be enjoying it. And I don't want to be caring about where we are in the league, or, the pressure the coach is putting on you because they need to get this amount of players through. I think it was just all happening too young. So when I got to go out of that, I think I actually flourished as a player. I think I began to develop even more. because I was back and I was enjoying my football and I was learning, and it was at grassroots level as well. So,
what kind of player were you back then? Similar to now, or?
No, I used to think I was a striker. I used to play on the shoulder. I was tiny. I was I was tiny because that was one of the things they said at Reading as well. Like, I wasn't enjoying it, but I was also said I was too small. I was really, really small at that age. I only became taller when I was like 16. I began to catch up with everybody else, but I was so small. So I used to play up front, and I was terrible at front, but I was playing Sunday League. You know, I was enjoying it. You know, I was faster than the rest of the boys, so it was okay. I'll get 10 chances in a game and score one, and you'd be the hero kind of thing. So going back to Sunday League, yeah, it made me enjoy football a lot more.
So you then had spells at a few non-league sides such as Burnham, Didcot Town.
Yeah. Honestly, I love this. Hearing a Scotsman trying to pronounce the English words. Well, yeah, right. Yeah, you did okay. Burnham, Didcot, and what was the other one you said?
Hampton and Richmond Borough.
Yeah, Hampton and Richmond. Yeah. So I was at. I think I only played one game for Didcot. So I think I went there after being at Henley, and I played one game for them, and then I went across to Burnham, where my brother used to play there. So he managed to get me to go across there. So I went and played there for a while, and I was actually released from them. And for anyone who's up in Scotland, that's like junior level, you know, just above amateur. And I was must have been like 18 or 19, and I remember I played about 10 games or so, and the manager called me in and released me. And this is why I always tell boys and girls now that, you know, one person's opinion of you doesn't define your footballing career. Because if I'd have been released, like when I was released then, if I would have given up and thought, you know what, I've just been released from a junior team, this is me done, then I would have never had the career that I've had. And he released me, he pulled me in the office, and he released me and said, you know, it's not really going to work. It's not working for me here. And I was distraught. Although on the outside I was trying to show that, you know, it was okay, and I was like laughing it off and stuff. I was distraught because I was thinking, you know, maybe I'm not going to make it. You know, that was the first thing. Maybe I'm not going to go to the level I want to go to if I'm getting released from a club like this.
Yeah.
But I managed to get back. I went back to Hayes after that, and then played a couple of seasons, which was actually in a higher level. And I remember I was at Hayes, and I signed a contract. And basically, for them to take next year my option, they were meant to, you know, say we want to do it, and they didn't. They waited past the date where they still had the option, and then after that they tried to say, "Oh, we want you to stay." So I ended up actually going to the FA and saying, "Well, listen, they're trying to hold my registration when they didn't want me at first, and now they want me to." In Richmond, who were in the league below Hayes, and I remember the manager saying to me at the time, "Oh, Marv, you're going to a shit league. Yeah, they want you, but the league's crap." And I thought to myself, "Wow, at this age, at this point, I'm probably 19 going on 20, and I'm thinking, this is a full-grown man saying to me, you know, rather than saying, you know, all the best, go and enjoy your football, he's saying, oh, the league's crap anyway, so, you know, that's probably the kind of level you're at." And I think that him saying that to me made me want to make it. You know, that made me that gave me kind of kick up the arse, and I'll show you. And I went to Hampton and Richmond, from there, and played my last season in non-league.
And I guess there's two types of people when you're in that situation. Like one who, as you say, you could have just gave up and thought, if I'm not good enough for this level, that's it. Or the other type that's determined, obviously, to show people that you can make it to the top.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And luckily, I was the one that was determined, and you know, I wanted to kick on. But I still don't think it was right for him to say that to me without him knowing what sort of character I was. And I think there's so many people that were in football that would have had that. You know, that man just say that to them, and they would have given up. So yeah, he said that to me, and as I said, I kicked on, went to Hampton and Richmond, which ended up ending with a trial at MK Dons at the end of that season, where I was actually due to sign. And
Did you win the league that season as well?
Yeah, we won the league. Yeah, so we had to be honest, we had a massive financial backer at that point. You know, he threw a lot of money into the club, and we won the league. And I was playing under a guy called Alan Devonshire, who played at like West Ham and played for England. And yeah, at the end of that season, I went with Martin Allen to MK Dons, went on trial there. Had a really, really good trial. It was supposed to be, you know, I think it was a 2-week trial, whatever. I did a week because I was still working at this point. I couldn't get a week off. Played a couple of reserve games, and you know, I was all set to sign for MK Dons until he got the Leicester job the day before I was due to go up and sign. So that was a bit of a blow for me personally.
And do you feel that playing at that level kind of prepared you for the step up? Did you feel you were not too good, but did you feel like you were a level above what you were playing?
Do you know what? There's a lot of good players at that level. A lot of good players, and I definitely think that prepared me for what I went on, what I have gone on to do in the game. And that's what I say to boys that are playing under 23 football: go on loan, whether it's to the lower leagues or whatever. Go on loan, play first team games, because there's nothing. You can't get that in under 23. That pressure that you'll have, and how important 3 points are, and people's jobs are on the line. That's what players need. And it's all right sitting around in academy football and doing well in under 23s. That's why you see so many players go from under 23 football to first team football, and they just can't quite make that step. They just don't seem, and it's not because they're bad players. It's because their development's been hindered by just doing under 23 stuff and scoring hat-tricks in reserve games. It don't mean anything.
No.
Yeah, it don't mean anything.
So then on for that, you mentioned your trial at MK Dons. In 2007, you signed your first professional contract, age 21, at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
What were they, League One at the time? Yeah,
they were League One. So what had happened there?
It was a big jump.
Yeah, it was a big jump, and they were financially in trouble. So the MK Dons thing had fallen apart because I said Martin Allen had gone to Leicester, and I had an agent at the time who was asking for crazy fees for me to go to Leicester, which I had no clue about. So I ended up getting a call from Bournemouth directly to go there, and I went there on trial. I'll never forget my 2 trial games there. One was against a team called Weymouth, and one was against Southampton. And I remember the Weymouth game, I'd worked, all day. I'd then driven down to Bournemouth, which from my mum's house was, an hour and 20 minutes. And I got cramp in the first half. And I had to come off after maybe about 30 minutes. I remember asking the referee how long we'd gone, and he told me, and I was like, wow, like my legs were gone. My calves were absolutely in bits. I was like to the manager, I've got to come off here. So he's taking me off, and I'm in the change room thinking, oh, this is me done. They're not going to invite me back. Yeah, they're not going to invite me back. And I remember after the game, he said, right, come Saturday, we've got Southampton. So I was like, okay, perfect, I've got another opportunity. So, I was thinking I didn't have to work this Saturday either, so it'd be fine. I wouldn't have to do the drive down after work. I'd just drive down for pre-match and whatever else. So on the Saturday came, I remember I drove down to Bournemouth, got prepared for the match. He named the team, and I was starting again. And I was like, okay, buzzing. He obviously really believes in me. And I think even earlier in this game, I began to get cramp again. And I was thinking, flipping hell, I can't come off at half time. It's my first game for Bournemouth, although I hadn't signed, it was at home. So it was my first game at Dean Court in front of the fans and whatever else. I can't come off now. So I managed to get through to half time. And I said to him, listen, I've got cramp again. And he's like, okay, just come off. So I was thinking, I've definitely blown it now. It's impossible. There's no chance this guy, it's Kevin Bond at the time, who had been assistant to Harry Redknapp and stuff at places. And I said, there's no chance he's going to sign me. And lucky enough, after the game, he came in with an envelope. He's like, right, this is your contract offer. And I think he left the room. And I remember sitting in the room thinking, flipping hell, I had a week training with them before. The second week I couldn't do due to work commitments. I played 2 trial games, got cramp in both, and he just offered me a contract. I think it was like £400, £450. And I remember I signed the contract without even looking at the duration of it, the wages or anything like that. I just went to be a professional footballer at this point. Signed the contract, absolutely buzzing, got in my car, called my mum first. My brothers were at home as well, so I spoke to my brothers, absolutely buzzing. We were going on a pre-season tour to Bath the next day, so I was like delighted. Got in my car, got on the motorway, and then my phone calls this Alan Devonshire, my old manager from Hampton and Richmond. So I was thinking, right, he's obviously heard the news that I was signed for Bournemouth, calling to congratulate me. So I was like, hello? And he's like, you're right, Marv? I was like, yeah. He's like, where are you? And I was like, oh, I'm just on my way home from the Bournemouth game. So, okay, cool. Don't get off the motor, I think he said, just head straight up to Leicester. And I was like, what? Leicester for what? We're going to Bath tomorrow. I was like, what am I going to Leicester for? He's like, oh, just spoken to Martin Allen. He's been trying to get hold of you. He was speaking to your agent. Your agent wanted 15 grand for you. He's come through me now to get hold of you because he realised you wasn't signed. I wasn't officially signed to the agent. And he's like, right, go up there, they want to sign you. And I was like, wow, I've just signed for Bournemouth. So I've gone from being absolutely buzzing, calling my family, delighted I'm, at 20, 21, I'm going to be a professional footballer, to I could be playing for Leicester now. And Leicester are League One at that point. They still had the big stadium, they were still a huge club. They're going to go in the right direction. And it was weird because I was buzzing to make it as a pro, but then I was heartbroken that, I could have kind of gone to Leicester, but, luckily I've got my brothers to support me, and they were just like, listen, you're a professional footballer. If I'd have said to you 2 weeks ago you could sign for Bournemouth, you'd have been over the moon. So don't let that distract you like the Leicester thing, just kind of just go over what's happened, and everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So you made your debut away to Millwall in the FA Cup in December after signing. And then made your full league debut the following weekend at Tranmere.
Yeah.
What was that like? Buzzing?
Yeah, the Millwall was I don't know if you know about Millwall, but they're fucking hooligans, man. So playing there and playing in that game was a weird one, because their fans are absolutely abusive. It was a kind of like, listen, this is what football's going to be about now. There's going to be more fans there. They're going to be more vocal and whatever else. So, but obviously, going in the change room, seeing my name on the back of my shirt was an unbelievable feeling, and playing in the game was fantastic. Absolutely buzzing. And then, like you say, we had Tranmere the following weekend, and I wasn't even supposed to be in the squad. What had happened was Kevin Bond, the man that he was, hadn't realised that he thought one of the players was a permanent player. He was actually a loan player. So he's named his squad. They've taken it through to the referee, and the referee came back and said, well, you've got 6 loan players here. And he's actually turned to one of the loan boys. I remember a guy, Dominic Shimon, who was from QPR on loan. He's like, oh, you on loan? I thought you signed permanently. So the guy's like, what? It's like, no, I'm on loan. So he had to come out of the squad to take it down to 5. And at that point, I was left out of the squad. I was the 19th man. So he's like, right, now you're in the squad, you're on the bench. And I remember it was peeing down with rain, never ever forget it. And I was just warming up. I was on cloud 9, I was in the squad for a league game now. I didn't really care, couldn't feel the raindrops. And I remember he called me back, said, you're going on. So from not being in the squad to being called back to be going on, it was mental. And I went on the pitch there, and honestly, the feeling was absolutely brilliant to be finally playing in the league. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And as I said, like, if they weren't 6 loan players there, then I wouldn't have been in the squad, Yeah. So to get on the bench and then get on with it was fantastic.
And then Eddie Howe's appointed Bournemouth manager.
Yeah.
What did you think of him? Did you know straight away that he was a top guy, like going to be a top manager? Or?
Yeah, you could see. He was so thorough in everything he did. He was actually the coach under Kevin Bond, and then Kevin Bond got sacked. I mean, they brought in Jimmy Quinn, and he said he didn't want Eddie as part of it. So Eddie went to manage under 13s. Right. So we used to bump into him sometimes when he was coming back to get their kit washed after the weekend or whatever else. And then, like you said, Jimmy Quinn was sacked on the 1st of January, and Eddie Howe came in, and that's when he was actually manager. And yeah, you could tell, he was so thorough. We had Jimmy Quinn, who personally I didn't rate. I thought that he's being a manager just to pay the bills rather than having a passion. It's just a job rather than a passion for doing it. And Eddie Howe was the total opposite. It was his life. Football was his life, and you could tell that with everything he did, with his training, with how thorough he was in opposition stuff. He's fantastic, and you knew, that for me, for the first time, I thought, wow, like, I didn't know there could be, a manager or a coach out there like this. Yeah.
So then he ends up going to Burnley, and he signs you for Burnley for, according to Wikipedia, 350 grand.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more, so someone's obviously edited that.
You need to go on and change that.
No, I'll leave it at that.
That was in the Championship, eh?
Yeah, so, Eddie had done fantastically well. I think he was at Bournemouth for maybe 2 years, kind of, and, he had approaches from Southampton. He was also very close to going, I think it was to West Ham during that 2-year period, and he never ended up going. And then suddenly the Burnley job came up. And I think for Eddie, it was a situation where he thought, if I don't go now, I might never ever go and I might regret it. Burnley just been relegated from the Premier League. It was a huge club looking to go back, had the parachute payments and stuff. And me and Eddie had a very up and down relationship. One that always had respect between the two of us, but we used to argue. I'm a passionate guy. He's a passionate guy. I'm opinionated, and so is he. But we always respected each other. And when he did go, I thought, he's not going to take me because, just because we flipping used to clash at times. And I remember I got the call to go up there, and Bournemouth at the time were my club, and it became a bit difficult because the chairman wanted to sell me, but he wanted to make out to the fans that he didn't want to sell me. So he was releasing stuff to the media, saying that I'm refusing to play, that I'm trying to force the club's hands. And none of this ever happened. You know, the only call that me and the chairman had when he rejected one of the bids is I said to him, this is life-changing for me and my family. You know, the amount of money that they can pay me could change my life. And I just want that opportunity to obviously go and speak to them. And, you know, if I went to the Championship and then ended up getting promoted to the Premier League again, it changed my life and my family's life again. And I just said, at this moment in time, Bournemouth didn't have the money to do that. And I appreciated that. You know, I wasn't saying to them I want X amount of money. I just said I just want the opportunity to explore this avenue. And it was quite disappointing that, you know, he had said that I'd refused to play and all this sort of thing, because it kind of, at the time, I think I left Bournemouth and the fans were upset because I had a good relationship with them. But that wasn't the case. You know, I just wanted to go, and he wanted as much money as he possibly could have got. So he accepted the bid really, really late. You know, I was due to fly up to Manchester, rather, and the last flight had now gone. So he's called me and said, right, where are you? And I was like, I'm in Bournemouth, so I've accepted a bid. Now, Bournemouth to Burnley should be 4 hours. And I think he accepted the bid maybe about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I remember I called my oldest brother, Mark, and I was like, okay, they've just accepted the bid. So he was like, right, that's fine. I was in Bournemouth at the time. He said, drive up to Reading, meet him at the services, and then he'll jump in my car and drive me up there. And honest to God, the speeds that he hit to get us there was frightening. Like, how I didn't get any speeding tickets or anything like that, genuinely, like, because it's in my car, like, what, the license should have been gone on either me or him. Yeah. And I remember we got there and I hopped out the car and it was 5 to 11. So I ran in the office and just signed the paperwork and then faxed it through. And I think it literally was 10:59, and the machine got jammed. So we're like, no way. And it got jammed, and they were trying to pull the paper out and it just wouldn't have it. And at 10 past, it actually ended up going through, which is obviously after the deadline. And I remember the next day, you know, my brother had left in the morning to go back down to work. And I was still in the hotel, and Bournemouth had called me and said, oh, you'll find a week's wages. And I was like, why? He said, oh, your transfer's not gone through. So I was like, flipping hell. So here I am, getting in my car from the hotel, driving back down. And I think I got about an hour down the road, and Eddie Howe called me and said, no, the FA have allowed it to go through. When you send fax, apparently you get proof that what time you've actually tried to send it. So they sent that across to them, said it was 10:59. We tried to send it, it got jammed. And luckily it went through, and yeah, I was then a Burnley player.
Brilliant. So started quite well at Burnley, quite involved, and then gradually started to follow out the team. Yeah. Eventually Eddie Howe left and Sean Dyche comes in, and did you feel that was then the end?
Yeah, it was a difficult one. As you said, I got into Burnley at the start. I was kind of in and out at the start because I was trying to get used to the pace. Obviously, again, I was, you know, going from non-league to Bournemouth. Yeah, I've jumped up a league again. The pace of the training and the games were different. And I remember I got into the team and I had a good run at it. And you know, I was taken out of the team because what had happened was a more experienced player who was on more money, a bigger name, he had begun to disrupt the training sessions. So when I say disrupt him, I mean we were playing, you know, doing shape and stuff like that, and he would just run across and kick the ball away, like Sunday league, like you wouldn't imagine that a professional player would ever do. And he was playing. I was playing in his position because he had been in the team. He'd got injured. I came and done extremely well. You know, was playing all the games, and him and his agent just, you know, kicked off and went absolutely crazy. And they ended up calling the club, and then he started doing that in training. And then I think at that point, Eddie Howe was still a really young manager. You know, he wasn't a lot older than this player. And I think the club had said to him, you know, Marvin's here for, you know, next 2 seasons after this. Let's just take him out, put this player back in, because we're paying him. He would have been on big money. We're paying him big money anyway. His contract's up at the end of the season. And then, you know, we can get Marvin back in and move forward. And I never forget it. And Eddie would always tell me when I was coming out of the team. And at this point, he didn't tell me. And I think it was because he knew that it was an argument that he couldn't win. You know, there was no reason for me to come out of the team. So he took me out of the team at the game. I was distraught, especially as the way this boy conducted himself in training. And then kind of after that, I was, you know, I didn't play for the rest of the season because this boy was staying in. I was coming on a sub from time to time. And like I said, it just didn't really happen for me. And then, like I said, Eddie Howe ended up leaving and Sean Dyche came in. And at this point, there was too much time that I hadn't been playing football. I was beginning to miss home. It just became really difficult. I spoke to Zavon Hines yesterday, he was up at Burnley with me as well, and he kind of described it as football's normally your release, and we didn't have the football matches as your release. You're just training. Going home was hard, and you can put a brave face on it sometimes, but it was difficult. And I kind of knew when Sean Dyche came in, and I was injured at the start. He did rate me as a player. I was injured at the start, and then I played against Barnsley away, and I wasn't ready to play. I really wasn't ready to play in terms of my fitness. I don't think I did enough to maintain my fitness when I was back from injury. I think I had a bit of a sulk on. I was blaming the manager and everybody else, but I wasn't playing. And he put me in against Barnsley, and I was horrific. That was the best way to describe it. And he dragged me at half time, and in that dressing room, I knew, okay, it's game over.
Yeah. So then you headed for a wee loan spell at Leyton Orient, which then became a permanent deal.
Yeah.
Were you quite happy with that?
Yeah, but do you know what? At this point, I was so upset with what had happened at Burnley when I was playing well and played all those games. That was still in the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. And I was actually probably on the verge of another move off of only like 12 games, because I literally gone in and did that well. So I went to Leyton Orient, and no disrespect to them, it was just to get home. And anyone that knows Reading to Leyton Orient, it's M4, M25. Although if you put it in AA route planner, it says maybe 55 minutes, but realistically, with the traffic on those motorways, it's an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. And my love for football wasn't there when I went to Leyton Orient. It was just a club that was closer to home. I was only on loan, so I was still getting my wages, my Burnley wages, and everything was wrong with me, with my mindset when I went there, because it wasn't footballing reasons. It was just to get closer to home, and Leyton Orient happened to be the club. I had no affiliation with them. I didn't necessarily believe in what the manager was saying he wanted to do and the way he wanted to play, and I went there, and looking back now, it wasn't the right move for me, but I still made it.
So then the big move comes to the Vikings. You're obviously saying you moved to Leyton Orient to get closer to home. You then end up just about as far away as you can get.
Yeah, it was weird, because Leyton Orient, I had a loan, then I signed permanently, and it was crazy. We went from Barry Hearn, who was a good chairman, to an Italian chairman who was picking the team. Everything was wrong. End of that season, we'd been relegated with some fantastic players there. We had a huge budget, biggest budget in the league by far. Got relegated, and I remember in the summer I was sitting at home and I was just like, I'm not even sure I want to do this anymore. I'm not sure. I've had the back spell of the Burnley one that I didn't enjoy. I had the Leyton Orient time I didn't enjoy. Is my heart really even in football anymore? I needed something to get me going. I had offers from other clubs before. During that summer as well, and I was just like, I don't fancy them. Nothing's really getting me excited. And Graham Matthew called me, and I was like, I'm not going to Scotland. It was a really quick conversation. Thanks for the opportunity, I'm not interested. And that was kind of where I was at mentally. And anyway, he persisted with it, and he called me 2 or 3 times. I spoke to my brothers, and I was like, this guy from Hibske's calling me, and he's like, it's a big club. Like, honestly, Kris, I was in a state of mind where I just didn't care. I didn't really want to play football. I was probably, looking back now, I was in a bit of a lull. So we ended up coming up to Hibs. I saw the training ground. I saw the stadium, and I was like, wow, I've been at Burnley, just been relegated from Premier League, and the training ground wasn't anything like it is at HTC. And I was like, yeah, this is a bit of me. This is getting me going again. Like, the excitement's back. And yeah, I did my medical and stuff, went away, and I came back up and signed my contract.
So what was your perception of Scottish football when you first heard that there was interest? Because personally, I think a lot of people in England underrate our league a lot.
Yeah.
Or even didn't even actually know a lot about the league outside their own firm.
Yeah, well, that was me. Not outside of the Premier League, I would say. I didn't know, because obviously he was in the Championship at this point. I didn't really know anything about the Championship.
Yeah.
Like you say, you knew about your Celtics and Rangers and Aberdeen. And then my brother said to me, obviously, about Hibs and stuff. So I didn't know an awful lot. I'd be lying to say that I was sitting at home thinking, right, this is the move I've always wanted. Although it did turn into that. But at the time, I knew nothing about it. It's only when I came and I saw the training ground and the facilities that, why I signed. And luckily enough for me, it turned into a fantastic move, one that I enjoyed. But yeah, I didn't know a lot about it. But people always say, the league's underestimated up here, and how did I, because I adapted quite quickly, people say, to the league. And I said, the way I play, I give 100%, so whether I'm playing five-a-side with you, down the park, or I'm playing Easter Road in a derby, I'm going to give the same effort because I want to win, and that's why I think even if I went to play abroad, I would always be the same player. I would adapt quickly because I give 100%. And, as I said, I might not always have good games, but I always give my all.
And did you have any friends or ex-players that you knew that had played up here that you phoned? Or?
No. Liam Fontaine was quite a good one, because when I came up here, he'd obviously been up here a year before me, I think, or a couple of years. So I had spoken to him. Alan Stubbs, who's manager at the time, said, speak to Liam, because, I was kind of worried about the whole homesickness thing coming back, and how often would I be able to get home and see my friends and family, etc. And I spoke to Liam, and he said, no, if you need the Monday off from time to time, then Alan will give it to you. So I spoke to Liam, and that kind of confirmed it for me that, it was a place I wanted to be. But to be honest, as I said, the facilities that I had seen and where the club was saying that they wanted to go, it kind of got that excitement back in me, and, my love for football had come back.
Were you quite surprised by, obviously it was a championship at the time, but the pace of Scottish football is, I think, surprisingly quite fast?
Yeah, it's not only the pace, it's the physical side of it as well. Yeah. It's not respected in England at all. Let's be honest, it's not respected in England. And there's some very, very good players up here, and the quality. We faced different qualities in the championship, because I think because we were well respected, we were one of the bigger teams. We were definitely the biggest team in the second season. Obviously, had Rangers the first season. A lot of teams will sit behind the ball against us. And I know as fans you think, well, what are you doing? Like, break them down. It's easy. But it's 11 against 11, And when the team are sitting behind the ball, it's very, very difficult to break them down. And sometimes you need to show more patience than fans, and even I'm a football fan, than anyone wants to see. Sometimes you have to do it, and we're faced with different challenges, rather, the team sitting behind the ball and whatever else. But it was good, and it was a good learning curve for me as a footballer, because I'd never been in a team that was, so well respected and so dominant as Hibs.
And did you understand that the qualities that you brought to the team as a footballer weren't always necessary in these type of games?
Yeah, because obviously my game is to break the play up. So if we've got the ball, you're not going to always need a player that's going to have to break the play up and whatever else. So I kind of understood that, especially in the championship where we'd be more dominant, that I might not play as many games. And I accepted that. Listen, I'll argue my corner if I think I should be playing in games, or I think somebody who plays a similar role to me is playing and they're not in as good a form as me, or I don't think they're as good a player as me. I'll argue my corner. But also I'll sit back and say, do you know what? You're right. I'm not needed for this game. My type of player isn't needed for this game. And I think as a player, as I've matured as a man, I've kind of understood that. But, at 18-year-old Marvin Bartley, if you're saying to me, you're not playing in this game, I'm like, we're having a full-blown argument. Where at that point, I was like, I was more understanding of it.
Yeah. So that season, we obviously got to the League Cup final, which we lost against Ross County. I personally thought we'd done enough to win that game.
Yeah.
In terms of the play, we should have taken our chances and finished it when we were ahead. Then we get to, obviously, the playoff situation against Falkirk, which was so frustrating. I was there that Friday night in Falkirk, and as a supporter, just felt so deflated afterwards, and didn't even think about the cup final the following week. Honestly, it was just gone. I thought, the season's done. We're just gutted there.
Yeah, we fell apart. It fell apart in that game, and I felt our weakness as a club at that point, Hibs, was that we played the diamond.
Yeah.
So any team that kind of would work with having width would always cause us problems. Any team that were kind of having fullbacks pushing forward, or having players, sitting at half and half, cheating position in wide positions, we weren't prepared for that. Because we were so dominant with the ball, we just thought, we just go out and play. Let's just go out and play. And that was our mindset, and I think that was our undoing, because then Falkirk not only, kind of had a game plan against us, they also roughed us up.
Yeah.
They were throwing long balls into the box, and that was, we thought we were too good to deal with that. Do you know what I mean? Our teams don't want to be physical with us, and I think we had too many of us didn't want that side of the game. And I think over the championship year, I think any team that was physical with us would cause us problems. And they wouldn't have anywhere near the ability that we would have. But if you were physical with us, or if you got down the sides of us, because we just couldn't, we didn't really practice moving, transitions, we didn't really practice it. And you can't do that in football because, you know, the game's evolving, you get caught short.
So then the cup final comes along.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've failed in the 2 competitions leading up to it. But a lot of the players actually said that they were really confident. I had spoke to Stokes about this, and he always felt that the way that Rangers play, obviously you're saying playing against these teams that are hard to beat down, Rangers would come out and play and they would leave themselves open.
Yeah.
It suited us because it meant we could play our game and it affected it really, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And that's
confident going into that game as well.
Yeah, do you know the thing gave us great confidence as well? That Rangers obviously had won the league. So they had a huge break between that and the cup final.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, one, they're going to try and come at us and make it a game of basketball. And like you say, we're going to leave gaps for us. And I think that's when, as a team, we were at our best. You know, when people weren't sitting behind the ball, when it was that game of football, you know, us against you, you're going to come at us, we're going to come at you kind of thing. And we were confident because we thought, right, they've had this break. Everyone expected Rangers to beat us. You know, there was a few fans that maybe had the confidence that we could win, but I think most were saying, do you know what, you know, hopefully we can, you know, hold on till late and see what happens. But the neutrals expected Rangers to beat us, and I think that worked in our favour because, you know, we were ready for them. And funny you mentioned Stokesy, because as I spoke to him the other day, I said that's the only game he turned up for. You know, he tried to blag it and say I'd been all right. I was like, he's an imposter till then. But yeah, that's the quality he had. You know, we knew if we were going to win that game, he had to turn up.
Yeah, he
had to turn up because he was our marquee player. You know, we needed him to turn up and do a job. Yeah, we had John McGinn and Dill, but we needed Stokes to turn up because we needed goals, and the man turned up and, you know, did what he did.
Plenty times he's got so much ability. It's just if he's going to be up for it or not is a question.
That's the thing. People don't understand probably the ability he does have. You know, and listen, he was a nightmare at times at Hibs, like late to training and whatever else. But you see, if anyone could tap into Stokesy and say, and he says to you, I'm going to give you a year, even now, Anthony Stokes, right this second, if you can tap into him and he says, I'm going to give you a year of being an ultimate professional, then you've got one of the best strikers in the league on your hands. That's a fact. That's the ability he has.
Yeah, I think outside Old Firm, if he's up for it, he could play at any team in the Premier League. Like.
Any team. 100%. Any single team, yeah, he could play it. And I'll include Celtic and Rangers in that as well. You would never play for Rangers, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I'm not. You're telling me that I don't think. Have you saying Rangers have got 2 better strikers than Stokesy?
Probably not on his day, no.
Exactly. He could be at any of them. Yeah, he could be at any of them. And we're certainly playing with the 2. Is there a third choice striker better than Stokesy? No. So, you know, that's the ability the man actually has. When you actually look at it and think about it, that's the ability he has, and he showed that in that cup final.
It was unbelievable, eh?
A joke. It was frightening.
I actually watched Time for Heroes back last week, and he must have had about 9 shots at goal. Like all of them could have went in.
Yeah, and he was doing absolutely everything, drifting out wide, beating players, and you're just like, wow, where's this man been? But like you say, he's a big game player. Yeah. That's what he is. So,
how did you feel on that day when you seen the lineup and you weren't in it? Was that tough for you?
Yeah, I was raging. I kind of knew, and I'd always speak about this story. And I said I've always got great respect for managers, and I know how hard it is to manage. I think at that point I'd earned the respect for Alan Stubbs to pull me and say, "Listen, you're not playing." Again, I think I would have had a fair case for an argument with that one. Difficulty was, I think Dilwood got injured in the game against Falkirk.
Yeah.
And which wasn't, you know, there wasn't a massive distance between the 2. And I think in the training leading up to it, I'd been, you know, in the team to be playing. And I think he could have pulled me and said, listen, you're not playing. This is the reasons why. And it'd been a lot easier to accept. I kind of knew I wasn't playing when I saw him speaking to Dill at the hotel. But as again, I think the manager should have pulled me. But when the lineup was read, for that split second, I could have done anything. You know, my head was gone. My head had gone. I was absolutely raging.
I think you said on the DVD you had to go and take a couple of minutes.
Yeah. I went into the cubicle. I remember because, you know, sitting. If I'd have sat in there and you know, I couldn't deal with the disappointment for the 2 or 3 minutes. I had to go and sit away, and then, you know, we had such a good group of players. I had to then come back and be, you know, the Marvin Bartley, who is, is a good teammate. You know, I had to put myself. It wasn't about me. It was about us as a football club. And you know, at any point I could be, you know, I have to go on the pitch. But for that split second, you know, I could have gone on there and lost my head. I could have lost my head when he read the team lineup out.
I said that to my old man the other week. I was like, if I can change one thing about the cup final, I wish Marvin came on. Emerson came on, who was on loan and obviously never been seen since. But that's just what happened.
One of those things. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you played your part. It's not just about that one day. Like, you played your part at Tynecastle and at Easter Road.
Yeah.
On the lead to get to there, so
of course, yes.
Part, you know what I mean?
It's a squad game, definitely, and like you say, the Tynecastle game was fantastic to come back and, you know, Paul Hanlon to slip into a shot that hits the back of the net. So it was brilliant.
There was people like fought like it was. I'd been raining that day, so people went. There was people flying down the stairs and that. Honestly, that's like one of the maddest I've ever seen a goal celebrated.
When he turned and hit that was some feeling, like, unbelievable. But he's such a cultured player, and people think, because he's a centre half. The man's he's another one with so much ability.
Yeah,
such a cultured player, and although he slips and when it hit the back of the net, you know, what a feeling, and kind of probably sparked us to think, you know what, we're going to go on and actually, you know, win the cup. Not only win, you know, the replay, but win everything, win the cup, win the whole thing.
I think that game, maybe not just that game, but the derbies leading up to that is when things really changed. Like, obviously you'll know as much as me for supporting Hibs for years, but like, Hearts owned the derby for so long.
Yeah.
I've had friends that have been at Hibs and they've said, like, it's just in the head. Like, they just didn't feel like they can go there and win games, or even when they're not going to hold on. But it's like Stubbs kind of changed that. We actually started going to Tynecastle and playing Hearts off the park.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think he done to really change the mindset of the players?
I think a few of us didn't have any clue, like you're saying, about the previous derbies. For me, I knew the importance of it, you know, from fans and players who played in it previously. But I think the thing that got me, I think it probably been in my first derby, was when we were in the tunnel and, you know, you get all the players talking and stuff. And that's what always makes me laugh, because, you know, when you're in the tunnel and a player starts shouting what they're going to do and, you know, they're not going to do anything on the pitch. And I know that that's a fact, because, you know why? Because I say nothing in the tunnel, but when we go on the pitch, it's a totally different story. Yeah. You know, I know what I'm about, and I know what you're about, and I'm going to run over the top of you. And I remember we were in the tunnel and they're talking it up, and I'm thinking, come on, like, you know, it's easy doing it in here. It's very easy doing it in here because there's no tackles going on at the moment. But when we go out there, it's a totally different story. And, you know, I just took it for a normal game, so to speak. And, you know, I just wanted to always do my best. And luckily in the derbies, I had a really, really good record. But they feared us, you know, even though you're saying they were doing really, really well prior to, you know, the years of me coming up here. They did fear us still, you know, because I think they knew that we didn't fear them, and we weren't in the tunnel, you know, shouting and screaming. We were really calm and ready to go to work. So I think Stubbs managed to, you know, bring in players who didn't really know a lot about what happened previously and allowed us to go and play our football.
Was that the best atmosphere you've experienced as a player?
Which one? The
derby.
The derbies are frightening. Absolutely frightening. It's mental. Like
for the derbies,
I used to love them, man. I'm not gonna lie. I used to love them.
I'm sure you'd deactivate it and we just come back on after the derby.
I'll give them a bit of a stick, but no, we didn't. The atmosphere, and I must admit, Tynecastle for the derbies is second to none. You know, and the best atmosphere that I've played in. Definitely as a footballer, it was ferocious. You know, and absolutely brilliant. And obviously, going there and, you know, turning them over was a great feeling as well. But yeah, the derbies are special. You can't explain that. You can't explain that feeling.
So I don't want to go on about the Scottish Cup too much because we talk about it all the time. But the celebrations on the Saturday night and then the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, about to say next week. Yeah, it was a blur. Honestly, the celebrations were an absolute blur.
And I was DJing on the Tuesday and there was still people out in their suits.
Yeah, Boiler.
Boiler, Danny Hanlon, they were still going like.
Yeah, I remember rescuing Boiler, but no, like honestly, the the times after that, going out and just being in amongst the boys, like I don't think it really probably like we realised what we had done until maybe a week after doing it.
Yeah.
Because you've got the nights out, the parade. You can't take it in.
No.
You can't. You actually can't take it in, and it's just it's mind blowing. Like honestly, Kris, that feeling was.
Must have been unbelievable.
Mate, you can't replicate it. Like when we came around, like so we obviously left from the mayor's like kind of place in the city, and we were on the bus and we saw a few people, and I remember we turned a corner and it was just like the only way I can describe it is just like there's an ice on the floor and there's just loads of ants on top of it. It was crazy, a sea of green. And
as a Hibs fan, we just felt like I'm 30 years old. My old man has been to every cup final in his life. He actually went to one when it was replayed twice against Rangers and still lost it.
Yeah.
And we obviously just felt like I'm never going to see it happening. So I think that makes it even bigger. Like all the fans were they actually felt like it's a holy grail. Like we're never going to win that competition.
Yeah, and it was. And they turned out in their numbers. You turned the corner and I was just like. Like I think that's when the penny dropped for me, and it was weird. I probably had like the flashbacks of getting released as a non-league player, playing at non-league grounds, being told I wasn't good enough, to being on that bus and seeing all those supporters, and it was kind of the two fingers up to the managers. But prior, had told me that I wouldn't do it. So, and that's what I say to kids now: you can never give up, never ever give up, because I'm not saying you'll all get a parade like that to be part of something like that. So I don't think it could be anything like that again in Scottish football. If Hibs were to win it, this season or next season, you can't replicate that. You really can't. You can't replicate that. That's. And I was lucky enough to live, and do that. It's mental.
I think it changed a lot for Hibs as a club as well, especially after missing out in the playoffs. Winning that cup probably meant, and then bringing in Neil Lennon, obviously a big name manager, probably meant that we kept a hold of players that we might have lost. We sold more season tickets and everything kind of kicked on. And it was like, right, we need to go and win the championship now.
Yeah.
So Lennon comes in, obviously a lot of my mate's a big Celtic fan. I had heard about Lennon and he said there's no danger Neil Lennon will be the Hibs manager. So anyway, he comes in. What's your thoughts?
Well, my friend had him at Bolton. One of my good friends I played non-league with had him at Bolton. But everyone knows who Neil Lennon is. I just thought he was going to be this fiery guy who was just basically going to shout at you and be angry. And that's kind of what you see from the outside. Yeah. I remember when we first met him, and I'd never forget, when he spoke to us and he said, "We're getting promoted." And that was his first words, "We're getting promoted. Well done for winning the Scottish Cup. That's gone. But you have to remember you failed to get up." So people are patting you on the back for winning the Scottish Cup, but you're also failures because you didn't get the team out of the league, and you should have. So this season we'll get promoted. So that's with you guys or without you. This football club will be back in the Premier League next season. So he said, "Buckle in for the ride, or let me know now, and you can get off." And walked out.
No question about it. Just we're going to win the league.
Yeah, and walked out. And there was no opening up the floor for, if anyone got anything to say. So you're sitting there like, literally lasted maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. And you're sitting there thinking, fuck, this guy's just laid the gauntlet down and walked off.
Yeah.
Gone. And it was made such an impact, because then we kind of were like, right, it's time to kick on. It's time to, I think we had you could have accused us of being a bit soft the year before that.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. He definitely changed that.
Yeah, that was gone. You're winning. And he instilled that rather in matches, in training, in everything you did. No matter what it was, head tennis, whatever, you wanted to win, and everyone wanted to win. And we all became, not that we weren't winners before that, we all had that winning mindset overnight. And the whole squad was pulling in the same direction.
Definitely. And even bringing in a few different type of players to what we had, like say Brian Graham and Holty. Different dimension. So when teams were camped in against us, could we put it in the box instead of trying to play 100 passes before we score a goal?
Yeah, he realised we needed that, because we probably needed a couple of physical strikers, because prior to that if we needed to go long, no disrespect to Jason Cummins, winning headers wasn't his game. You know, so you probably needed a focal point that we could hit. And we also had obviously James Keatings as well, who's another fantastic player, but, you know, winning headers wasn't his game. And it added another dimension to us, you know. And as I said, when we used to play the Diamond in the Championship the year before, we were easily got at. We had, you know, we could have gone 2 or 3 ways under Neil Lennon. You know, we could play football if we want to play football. We could be physical if we want to do that. We could go long if we needed to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that made us as a football club kind of unstoppable in that league.
Because if you look at under Stubbs, like say Martin Boyle, bit part player, didn't he play the cup final, and then Lennon comes in and Boyle's like first name on the team sheet eventually,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think Boyler always had that quality. You know, he's always had that pace, that breathtaking pace. I just don't think he was ever told that, you know, you're not that you're good enough, but ever told that, you know, someone believes in him, you know, putting their arm around him. And even in training, to see at times that Boyler was, as I said, he was breathtaking, and I don't think he got the chances that he deserved the year before. Right. You know, I think he should have played more games than he did. But like you said, Neil Lennon came in and said to him, listen, with the attributes that you have, you should be doing more. And Martin stepped up, you know, and did more, and his career's kicked on since then. So, yeah, like, Neil Lennon managed to bring a lot out of players that maybe other people were looking at and thinking, I'm not too sure about him.
Yeah. And they made you captain at Tynecastle.
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. So,
you'd been out the team before that game, hadn't you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was out the team, and I think it was injured for a while. Then I came back and I was just on the bench and I wasn't playing. And he had picked the team the day before that. So we stayed at the hotel, at the Hilton Hotel, and then it was an evening game, wasn't it? So he called me across to his room before we had our team meeting, and we're due to leave after. So I was like, oh, okay. Here we go. Like, he's called my phone, like, Marv, come across. And I was like, he's going to take me out of the team. Because I hadn't played, like, up to there, and suddenly I was in the team. And I got across to his room, and obviously my face was painting a picture in terms of I was ready for a battle. Because this would have been the one manager who said to me, you're not playing. I'd have locked him in the bathroom. And I went to the meeting and said, the gaffer said he's not feeling well, Parks. You take the team. It's the same team as training yesterday. And I remember he said to me, what's wrong with you? And I was like, you're not taking me out of the team, are you? He's like, no, you're captain. And I was like, oh, thank God for that, basically. And I was like, I told him what I was going to do. So I was going to lock you in the bathroom. Big FA said, just get out. So yeah, he made me captain, and you know, that was that was unbelievable. You know, it really, really was. What a privilege it was to lead the team out. And as I said, I keep saying, every time I've had something substantial in my career, I always kind of have flashbacks to, you know, being a young boy playing football. My brother's taken me to football. My mum, you know, working 2 jobs to get me football boots to allow me to play football. It always flashes back to that. And as I said, I've had some good experiences, and my mum and my 2 brothers are pivotal people in my life for what they did for me when I was younger. You know, obviously along the way I've had other people who have helped me, but as a kid, as a small boy, you know, they all made massive sacrifices. So when I do get to do stuff like Captain Hibs and win cup finals, then, you know, everything I owe to them.
I can actually remember being in the Roseburn before the game, having a few drinks and then checking the team on my phone. I was like, Marv's playing. Marv's captain. I was like, here we go. So I obviously had a great first season under Lennon. Then we lose, like, say, McGinn, McGeoch. There's a lot of changes within the team. And things start to fall apart, really. Heckingbottom then comes in. You've told me before that you were really impressed with him. Yeah,
and this is what a lot of fans won't see. I've got no reason to stick up for Paul Heckingbottom because, you know, I didn't start a league game underneath him.
Yeah.
Paul Heckingbottom for me as a coach was fantastic. I think with his ideas, you have to buy in 100%. And, you know, me getting onto that stage of my career, I've worked under Eddie Howe, who again is another fantastic manager. You know, I've had different managers in between that. You know, I've had Neil Lennon, who's an ideal motivator kind of thing. Paul Heckingbottom comes in, and for me, he's a brilliant coach. You know, him and Robbie were fantastic. I just think that, you know, he did well because he got into the top 6 under him. I just feel that summer he wanted to maybe make too many strides in a possession-based direction. I think he wanted maybe run before he could have walked. And I think if you ask Paul now and he was to come back, he would make different decisions and he'd probably have a different philosophy and try and build it up over like 2 or 3 years rather than, 6 months. But as a coach, he was fantastic.
So then obviously came to the decision that it wasn't, you weren't going to be really a part of his plans every week. And you made the decision to leave, which a lot of Hibs fans, when it came to the start of the season, they obviously let yourself and Mulligan go.
Yeah.
And it looked like we were crying out for a defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
How did you feel about leaving Hibs at that point?
It was the most difficult footballing decision that I'll ever have to make. No matter what I go on to do in my coaching and managing career, it was the most difficult decision I had to make. And I kind of knew I'd had such a great time at the football club. I knew I'm coming to the end of my career and I want to play games, and that was kind of my thinking behind it. But to leave a club that, I've enjoyed so many good times at, was hard. And I remember when I finally made the decision that I was going to go, and I actually went home from training and cried, and I just thought, this is going to be heartbreaking to leave this club and leave the teammates that I had. I had to put myself first, and I had to go because I needed to play. And I kind of felt that, during that last season at Hibs I was in and out of the team. And it was hard for me because, I wasn't a 21-year-old boy anymore. I wasn't 23 or 24 at Burnley where, I was an older player now. And when you're not playing and you're thrown in and people expect you to be the player who, when you play 10 games, I couldn't do it. My body physically couldn't do it. And when I don't play matches, I go in the gym. That's what I do to get my frustration out. I push weights. And I remember one day I weighed myself and I was up to like 94.5 kg. And that was too heavy for me to be playing football. All these things were in my mind saying, I don't want to leave Hibs and be a bit part player again and then think, maybe Marvin should have gone just before that. I wanted to be remembered for making impacts in games and playing well in games and whatever else, rather than being looked at like, he's kind of gone at the end. And that was all part of my decision, but it wasn't an easy decision. It was near on impossible. And, I had a massive love I had for the club, but I had to go.
And did you find it frustrating? Obviously, we're happy at Livingston, but did you find it frustrating when you could see that Hibs had those gaps in the team that you could have filled?
But I felt when I wasn't playing, there was gaps I could have filled. I just felt that it wasn't, either manager like Lennon towards the end or Heckenbottom didn't want me to be that player to fill it because they want to play a different way, maybe. Mm-hmm. But like you say, once I've gone to Livingston, all the love I have in the world for Hibs, I'm now a Livingston player. So my problem is Livingston Football Club. So what's going on at Hibs doesn't really register with me. I want Hibs to do well, but I want Livingston to do better because it's where I am. Yeah. If it was for which club I love more, I'd want Hibs to do better. But it's not about that. It's where I'm, plying my trade, and I've got a new job and a new project to get on with. So, I didn't really take much note of what was going on. I just wanted the team to do well, and obviously they weren't, and Heckenbottom ended up leaving. But I always thought that it was going to be difficult. You've got Celtic and Rangers who have a much, much bigger budget than everyone else. They can afford to play that kind of style of football, that possession-based football. I just felt that, what I'll do is I'll go away, I'll come to Livingston, the weight will fall off me, which it did. I've lost 6 kg, and I'll be back to the Marvin Bartley was playing there. And I knew I still had it in me to go and play where many probably doubted me. But I didn't really look back and think, I could have been playing at his because, that ship had sailed. And as I said, I still love the club and I want the club to do well. But I didn't look back and think that, no.
You've started doing a wee bit of media work as well?
Yeah, just something different. It's just kind of come along.
Because that was just kind of one-off as a guest one night, and now you're
well, I started doing the radio stuff. Dougie got me on to do the radio, so I did the radio on a couple of occasions, and then Stephen Thompson, who I played with at Burnley, does the sports scene stuff, said, "Oh, a gap's opened up. Would you be interested in doing it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. It's something different." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll give that a go." And like you said, it's just thankfully the BBC have had me on a few times. I've also covered a few BT games as well. Yeah.
So, do you think, can you see yourself having a future in media after football, or would you prefer to go into coaching or come back and be Hibs manager?
I enjoy the media stuff, but for me, it's about management and coaching next. And I'm already working on stuff like philosophies and stuff like that. And in terms of coaching, as a player, I was always limited to what God had given me in terms of ability. And I can work on my game, but I can never be a Messi or a Ronaldo. Whereas I see coaching, I could go. I personally believe in myself, and I could go to the top. And it's about me evolving and learning the game, and learning how to deal with different situations. So that's my plan. I don't think there's a restriction on you being a coach or a manager. How high you can go, and as I sit here now in front of you, my aim is to go to the top, and I'll do all the work from now till hopefully I get there, and keep working when I do get there in order to do it. But I believe in myself when it comes to coaching and managing, and I've already started doing that with obviously Livingston.
Yeah, good man. Right, just a couple of the questions that people have sent me in and stuff.
Go on.
Liam Henderson's asking if you miss chasing him around Hibs training centre.
Anyone who knows Hendo knows he has zero pace. I was never chasing him, but Hendo's great. I can call him a kid now. I'm an old man. Great kid. He's fantastic and a brilliant footballer. And it just shows. He's taken a leap to go and play abroad. So he's a great example to young Scottish players. I felt when I first came here, the younger boys would limit themselves just to play in Scotland, and now like people like Hendo have opened up avenues by going abroad and showing boys that you can do it. But I do miss Hendo, but not chasing him around. But he's a guy of immense ability, and I spoke to him the other day. So hopefully he's staying safe.
He actually he got my cup final tickets.
Did he?
For me and my dad that day, and I was like, right, send me your account details, I'll send you the money for them. He said, no, mate, this one's on me. And I thought,
he's a fantastic. He's matured so much beyond his years. He's honestly.
The Commodore got me another two for two of my mates. He wanted the money though.
Yeah. That don't surprise me.
Right, next question. Who was your close mates at Hibs? Obviously, you've said they were a great bunch of lads, but was there anybody that you were specifically close friends with?
Offie Marciano, Flo. I know you probably get a few snake comments now on here, but Flo, David Gray. Honestly, I can mention loads of the boys. Sorry, Paul, Louis Stevenson, Big Dad. It was honestly, it was a team where you could walk into the dressing room and there could be any one player in there and you could strike a conversation with them. There was never any awkwardness or any cliques or anything like that. And that's genuinely that we're a fantastic group of boys, and we all got on. There's a snakes. They're coming now. Lucky I'm not scared of snakes.
See, from Hibs fans' point of view, the whole snake thing about Flo, I'm not going to go into it, but
go into it. I want you to. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. So I really like. I didn't know him as a person, but I really like him as a player. I think he's frustrating for a lot of supporters to watch at times because they know how much ability he's got. But I think depending on what system he was played in, it would affect him. If it wasn't a two up front, he was no good to you sometimes.
Yeah.
But see, when all the stuff happened with him and Lennon, the Hibs fans sung his name, the games after that, and really had his back for it. So I just think going to Rangers, which I totally understand, it's a massive club and a massive move for him, even if it's just a loan. But he just maybe should have had a bit more respect for the Hibs fans who had his back instead of the stuff he said in the interview.
That's the key word, the respect thing. And I've spoken to Flo, and I'll continue to speak to Flo, and whatever decisions he makes in football, he'll always be my friend first and foremost. I think that the interview lacked respect for the club, and I told him that. But English isn't Flo's first language, and I think he got caught up with being so excited about getting a loan move to Rangers. He probably had so many things he wanted to say, and then he just he blurred anything out. Yeah. So I do think that the interview definitely lacked respect, but I don't think he's a disrespectful player or a disrespectful person at all. But I agree with you, that interview wasn't on. But that's not Flo as a person.
No, it was kind of like an interview given if he had just signed from another country and hadn't already been in Scotland. Hibs have thanked them for giving him the opportunity to go or anything like that. So
and that's the thing. And like I say, it is a loan. I think he could have probably been advised to, say something along the lines of, I'm delighted to have this opportunity. I'll do my utmost. Hibs have also got a great player in Doherty going the other way. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season. All I can do is play between now and the end of the season, and we'll see what happens at the end of the season. Whether I'm a Rangers player or a Hibs player at the end of the season, I'll be happy at both. And I think that's the respect he should have shown.
Yeah, I think he's burnt his bridges a wee bit now.
Mm.
Anyway.
A couple of goals in the derby would be all right, though, won't he? He'll soon be flipping singing his name again.
Who is your favourite manager that you've worked under?
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe.
Yeah, Eddie Howe. For me, he's the most all-round manager that I've played under. He had a bit of everything.
And who's the best player that you've played with?
The best player I played with for doing his job, it's difficult to play with some good players, but I think striker-wise, probably Charlie Austin, probably the best striker I've played with, just because you look at him and think this guy's not scoring any goals, and then he pops up with 2 or a hat-trick. He's gone on to score from non-league to the top level. And the best player I've got to mention, Kieran Trippier, right back, played with at Burnley. Yeah, he was fantastic, and also his mindset to come from Man City to Burnley, drop a league when he's at Man City, and he's probably going to, break into their first team and get a couple of games here or there over the next couple of years. He was offered a long-term contract and said, no, I'll go to Burnley and play. And he came to the Championship and did really well, and it showed he played for England, Tottenham, and Atletico Madrid. So those two of them.
For him to go to Atletico, eh?
Yeah, and if you met him, you would never think he would go abroad. He's that guy. You'd think no chance. But those two are fantastic players.
Hibs page on Twitter was asking, what was your routine before a derby? Did you have any specific routine?
No, I just don't know. So I just managed to go to another year in them. I think it was the abuse that spurred me on in a weird and wonderful way. I think it was the fact that they didn't respect us as a football team. They didn't respect us as players, and we didn't respect them. Don't get me wrong. Don't say this is just one way. But it's just one of those things that when the bragging rights were up for grabs, I wanted to make sure that the Hibs fans had them, kind of thing. So no, they were fantastic games, but I just loved them. Honestly, I loved them, and I would play them one every day if I could. Yeah,
I think fans probably they have these players there that they want to abuse as much as they can when it comes to derby, but they probably didn't realise that the players actually
it spurs you on. Yeah, exactly. To be fair, some may sink under it, but I definitely swam and I enjoyed it. And as I said, I used to live in a Hearts dominated area, full of Hearts fans, and they were fantastic. Every other day, except when the derby was coming. When the derby was coming, they would see me and cut me. He wouldn't want to talk to me, and then the derby would come and go, and then they'd be talking to me again. So, no, it was. I loved them. I loved the derbies, honestly.
And obviously, you never scored a single goal for Hibs. And I remember I'm sitting at Easter Road because we were at. Where were we playing?
No, you were away to Ross County.
Can't even remember who we were playing.
Yeah, away to Ross County.
Oh, because all the fans were singing it.
Yeah.
I was like, no way has Marv scored at Tinker. So could not believe that.
Do you know what? Before the game, I said to be fair, I said it a few times. I said to one of the boys, I'm going to score today. I said, I'm definitely going to score today. And I remember when I think Bearer headed it and it hit one of their players on the back of the head. And I almost inside, I probably didn't show my face. I started laughing. I was thinking, this is a goal. I never had that kind of feeling. No, but that's what I thought. I said, this is a goal. I said, as soon as I turn and hit this, I'm too close to the goal for the keeper to save it. And when it hit the back of the net, honestly, the celebration could have been anything. But I'd already been booked. I remember I tried to half Mason it earlier on. Yeah. So I got booked for that. Any referees are watching, I did try and half him as a 50-50, and it just, went into each other. So I had to be quite reserved. But I set up a kind of a Ric Flair, like a woo!
And they equalised late on as well, eh?
Yeah. To be fair, the draw was a fair result because, they had a few opportunities in the game. So a draw was the fair result, but I was just buzzing to get a goal. We could have lost flipping 4-1 and I've still been buzzing after scoring.
Right, the last question I've got here is, do you like the song that the Hibs fans sing about you?
Yeah. No, that's when you used to hear that. I can only imagine what McGinn used to feel like when he used to hear this song, like the whole stadium singing. But yeah, that was I used to love that song. I actually did. Actually, when I came back to play at Easter Road for Livingston, I actually heard it being sung again, and I just started laughing. But yeah,
I was on holiday that game. I missed your return.
Yeah, it was a special song, man. Even including the swear word, which I won't repeat. But yeah, no, I love that song, definitely.
Perfect. Well, Marv, top man, mate. Thanks for getting me on to do this for you.
No problem. You've been amazing, mate. You've been amazing, and I like someone else feeling the pressure of like putting the questions to me.
I was sitting here thinking like,
it's horrible, huh? People think it's a walk in the park, man. You're sitting there thinking, wow, how's this going to go? How's it going to go? So,
I know.
No, it's perfect, mate.
I'm not Sai Ferry, but, you know.
Yeah, he's done wonders, mate. You're going to get him.
Right, top man, mate. You take care of yourself, all right?
You too. Speak to you soon, buddy.
See you soon, mate. Bye.
See you later, mate. Bye-bye.